Welcome you all in BBA and MBA Guide by Samiya Hamid. Today is the 5th lecture about management. The topics we are going to cover today are quantitative and behavioral approach of management. Quantitative approach is also called operations research or management science. The quantitative approach evolved from mathematical and statistical solutions developed for military problems during World War II. After the war was over, many of these techniques used for military problems were applied to businesses. For example, one group of military officers, nicknamed the Whiz Kids, joined Ford Motor Company in the mid-1940s and immediately began using statistical methods and quantitative models to improve decision-making. The quantitative approach involves applying statistics, optimization models, information models, computer simulations, and other quantitative techniques to management activities. The quantitative approach involves applying statistics, optimization models, information models, computer simulations, and other quantitative techniques to management activities. A quality revolution swept through both the business and public sectors in the 1980s and 1990s. It was inspired by a small group of quality experts, the most famous being W. Edwards Deming and Joseph M. Huron. The ideas and techniques they advocated in the 1950s had few supporters in the United States, but were enthusiastically embraced by Japanese organizations. As Japanese manufacturers began beating U.S. competitors in quality comparisons, however, Western managers soon took a more serious look at Deming's and Huron's ideas that became the basis for today's quality management programs. Total Quality Management. Total Quality Management, or TQM, is a management philosophy devoted to continual improvement and responding to customer needs and expectations. The term customer includes anyone who interacts with the organization's product or services internally or externally. It encompasses employees and suppliers as well as the people who purchase the organization's goods or services. Continual improvement isn't possible without accurate measurements, which require statistical techniques that measure every critical variable in the organization's work processes. These measurements are compared against standards to identify and correct problems. These are the factors on which TQM depends upon. Intense focus on the customer. The customer includes outsiders who buy the organization's products or services, and internal customers who interact with and serve others in the organization. 2. Concern for continual improvement. Quality management is a commitment to never being satisfied. Very good is not good enough. Quality can always be improved. 3. Process-focused. Quality management focuses on work processes as the quality of goods and services is continually improved. 4. Improvement in the quality of everything the organization does. This relates to the final product, how the organization handles deliveries, how rapidly it responds to complaints, how politely the phones are answered, and the like. 5. Accurate measurement. Quality management uses statistical techniques to measure every critical variable in the organization's operations. These are compared against standards to identify problems, trace them to their roots, and eliminate their causes. 6. Empowerment of employees. Quality management involves the people on the line in the improvement process. Teams are widely used in quality management programs as empowerment vehicles for finding and solving problems. Behavioral approach comprises on early advocate, Hawthorne studies, and organizational behavior. As we know, managers get things done by working with people. This explains why some writers have chosen to look at management by focusing on the organization's people. The field of study that researches the actions, behavior, of people at work is called organizational behavior. Much of what managers do today when managing people, motivating, leading, building trust, working with a team, managing conflict, and so forth, has come out of OB research. Although a number of individuals in the early 20th century recognized the importance of people to an organization's success, for stand out as early advocates of the OB approach, Robert Owen, Hugo Munsterberg, Mary Parker Follett, and Chester Barnard. Their contributions were varied and distinct, yet all believed that people were the most important asset of the organization and should be managed accordingly. Their ideas provided the foundation for such management practices as employee selection procedures, motivation programs, and work teams. This is the summary of each individual's most important ideas. The most important contribution to the OB field came out of the Hawthorne studies, a series of studies conducted at the Western Electric Company Works in Cicero, Illinois. These studies, which started in 1924, were initially designed by Western Electric industrial engineers as a scientific management experiment. They wanted to examine the effect of various lighting levels on worker productivity. Like any good scientific experiment, control and experimental groups were set up with the experimental group being exposed to various lighting intensities, and the control group working under a constant intensity. However, they found that as the level of light was increased in the experimental group, output for both groups increased. Then, much to the surprise of the engineers, as the light level was decreased in the experimental group, productivity continued to increase in both groups. In fact, a productivity decrease was observed in the experimental group only when the level of light was reduced to that of a moonlit night. In 1927, the Western Electric engineers asked Harvard professor Elton Mayo and his associates to join the study as consultants. Thus began a relationship that would last through 1932 and encompass numerous experiments in the redesign of jobs, changes in workday and workweek length, introduction of rest periods, and individual versus group wage plans. For example, one experiment was designed to evaluate the effect of a group piecework incentive pay system on group productivity. The results indicated that the incentive plan had less effect on a worker's output than did group pressure, acceptance, and security. The researchers concluded that social norms or group standards were the key determinants of individual work behavior. This is all about today's lecture. Hope you find this video useful. If you find any query, you can ask by commenting below. Please share this video with friends and fellows. And don't forget to like and subscribe the channel.